Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining me with the Parents Know Best Education Initiative at FreedomWorks. Today, we are going to discuss the Love Your School initiative. This is a beautiful resource for Arizona families looking for the best school options for their children. And it was founded by Jenny Clark, who is my guest today. And we are just thrilled. Jenny is an Arizona native, a mother of 5. And I love how she says this on her website. She understands the unique variations in how children learn because she has 5. And so she's an expert, a mama expert, and also a professional. Jenny grew up in Arizona. She attended her local district school for K through 12, and then she continued to the University of Arizona and received a Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Arts in Business Economics. Wow, that's impressive. Today, Jenny utilizes a variety of schooling options for her own family and loves sharing with other families about their options and helping them find the right fit for their kids. And that is what inspired her to start Love Your Schools. So she is a huge resource for us at Parents Know Best. We want to do everything we can to encourage parents to take a look at the options that she has and the wisdom that she has, and we will make all those available to you after this conversation. So Jenny, you love helping families navigate school options. You highlight personal stories of families in Arizona who are exercising those options, which I love because I have my stories. Our kids are 29 and 33, but we have a whole history of their process of education. So stories are so helpful for especially moms, but moms and dads, because it inspires people to say, well, maybe I can do that. If you can do that, I can do that. And that's what it's all about, to build that network. So you mentioned on your website that these options include tuition tax credits, empowerment scholarships, which we will dive into a little deeper toward the end of the conversation about the ESA, new and improved ESA in Arizona, open enrollment, micro schools, homeschooling, and everything in between. So first of all, I would just love to hear from you personally. We know the big picture of why you decided to create Love Your School. But tell us a little bit more. Give us a window into that and why you chose that name. I love that name.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, and thank you so much for having me here today. So it's kind of a crazy story, but basically 4 years ago, when our first oldest son was diagnosed with dyslexia, we went through that very difficult, lengthy process of getting a diagnosis and then getting the school district to acknowledge that it was actually there, that it wasn't our fault because we were homeschooling at the time. It wasn't something that we had done wrong, which we were made to feel. And we, through a series of different people, ended up on our state's ESA. Of course, there, education savings accounts nationwide. In Arizona, ours is called the Empowerment Scholarship Account. And once we got on the ESA, I was shocked and then very frustrated that I discovered that we actually qualified for that scholarship years earlier, and nobody told us about it.
Wow.
Nobody knew about it. We had spent all of this money doing all of these things, single income. My husband was in law school.
Wow.
And we didn't know about it. And after we got on the ESA, that was in 2018 when there was the first battle in Arizona to try to get universal ESA, which failed at the ballot. I was so frustrated. I just knew how amazing that program was for our family. I was very disheartened that I was hearing a lot of, quite frankly, lies about that scholarship program that were just being spread by the unions and other groups to Arizona voters. And I was like, you know what? Enough's enough. Families need support. Families like mine could have used this support. We're going to start an organization. We're going to call it Love Your School. And it is going to be the exact opposite of what the teachers unions do. We are going to say, we love them all. We don't care what you choose, district charter, private, online, homeschool, ESA. We love it all. We are just here to support families. And we've kept very focused on that mission and that vision and put families and parents at the core of what we do. And I think that's why we're now here years later looking at what we got in Arizona, which was the universal ESA.
I love that. You're at that grassroots level dealing with moms and dads, and that's where we are at Parents Know Best. And I love that the most, where I can talk with moms. I can talk with dads, hear their story, and see what might be best for them in a given situation that they're struggling with in their child's education. I know it sounds like, I should say, that you spend maybe quite a lot of time doing that as well. What are you picking up from parents right now? What trends are you seeing? Like, what are they leaning most toward? What are they most afraid of in making a change in their child's education? Would love to get your insights on that.
Yeah, so I think that a lot of us, maybe in the school choice movement, thought that after COVID, we've seen great numbers move to homeschooling, but I think a lot of us thought we would see greater and more sustained numbers as families chose micro schools and some of these other options. I think that hasn't happened as much as even I thought it was going to happen, because we need more supply. We need more choices. So I think there's still a lot of families that are going, okay, this environment isn't working for my child. I can get access to the ESA, but maybe exactly what I'm looking for, maybe something a little bit unique or non-traditional, it's not quite there yet. And that's a big part of how we coach and counsel families at Love Your School. We help them process those options, help them discover what's out there. But we also spend time helping families consider launching some of their own options. There are some really talented moms and dads out there that will come to us, tell us what they're looking for. They're like, okay, I want a school that's 4 days a week, 6 hours a day. I want it to be focused on this. And this is what I want it to look like. And this is the curriculum and the philosophy. And we go, oh my gosh, that's amazing. That doesn't exist yet right now. Do you want to launch it? We want to help you do that. Wow. So I think when parents are thinking about switching out of some of these traditional environments, it can feel kind of scary. And so they need to know that there are good, solid options out there. I don't think it's bad that we're seeing a lot of people jump into this space and cultivate these new things. I think we'll start to see more education entrepreneurship, and we'll start to see some things grow and blossom and some things maybe fall away. But that's just like a sign of entrepreneurship, right? In any new industry, you have successes, you have failures that you learn from, and ultimately what we need is more options for families. So it's very exciting.
Oh, I love that so much. So if we could, let's dive into the Arizona Empowerment Scholarship Act, which, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, is the most comprehensive and accessible choice in education option in the country. So maybe do a little deeper dive into that. What is available to Arizona parents through the Arizona ESA, and how do parents access that?
Yes. So the Arizona ESA is different than some of the other states that have passed ESAs. Now ours is, of course, universal. So any family that has a child, kindergarten through 12th grade, and it can be a little bit longer also if the child has special needs, they now have access to take their education dollars to the environment that works for them. In Arizona, the way that it's written is that you get to take 90% of what the state's allocated portion is for per student funding. And so because it's a formula, it's very unique, and it's something that I hope more states will consider. That means that that dollar amount actually goes up if a child has any type of learning disability or developmental disability or special need. So, for example, my kids right now, the ones that have dyslexia, they qualify under the federal disability category of specific learning disability in reading. So our ESA is slightly more than the base award amount. It's about $8,000 a year. But in Arizona, if you have children, for example, with a diagnosis of autism, their ESA is $28,000 a year. So they're able to use those funds to build out a beautiful customized education for their child with tutors and therapists and all sorts of extracurricular activities, or they can use those dollars to put their child into a specialized private school of their choosing. So very exciting that the dollar amount varies, especially for families with special needs.
That is absolutely phenomenal. Now, I believe you have on your website a link where they can go, or page where they parents can go and get all the details and find out how to click through to the state website that's connected with this and all of that. And we want to make sure and get that and share that on our best resources page as well. and also have it included in the post with this conversation that we're having. We love sharing other people's resources and just getting it out there. We are all here to help parents. This is a very tough time in American history in public education. There are a lot of battles to fight. And sometimes, if you can, parents, think about this option. Your kids will get over not seeing those friends in public school. I know, I went through that with our son. It was hard, but he was agreeable to come out of the school. And so he made it. And he actually grew stronger from it and learned how to be more independent from what people think. So you never know the character lessons that your children will learn if the best thing for them, and then you decide as a family and they're willing to look at a choice option. So don't be afraid. So I'm glad we have Jenny as a wonderful cheerleader and coach for you guys. Also, just want to know how parents, from other states can connect with you, and what are ways that you help, parents that are outside of Arizona?
Yeah, great question. So actually on our website, loveyourschool.org, we do have a drop-down menu where if we're not operating in your state, you can fill out really quickly our interest form, and then we reach back out to you, find out what it is you're looking for, and either connect you with other organizations in that state. Or one of the neat things that we've been doing is using that to kind of have an initial phone call with some of these parents to help launch additional Love Your Schools in different states. And so that's been really exciting too. We, of course, already operate Love Your School in West Virginia. We're launching one in Tennessee. And sometimes it's just nice to know when you're a parent and you're like, okay, I heard about this thing, ESA. I saw it. It's exciting. I want it in my state. What can I do? To have that support from other school choice organizations that have gone through that know what that looks like, that can provide that support and help build that kind of ground advocacy base of parents that can fight for what they want and what they're seeing happen in other states. That's the only way that change happens, as you know, is stepping forward and fighting for it. It's very exciting.
Absolutely. And being bold. I always say, be bold, be courageous, and be polite. Because, I understand parents are often angry about what's happening, but, we want to be effective as we try to make change. And Jenny, you're a great role model for that. So do you have any final words or any stories that you want to share with us of moms and dads that you've connected with in Arizona that are success stories?
Yeah, well, for all the moms and dads out there that are listening, one of the things that we really coach families through when we kind of do those intake calls, and sometimes we have conversations over a period of months, especially if a family is struggling, a child struggling in a school and the parent isn't really sure why. One of the things I love to encourage parents on is don't be afraid to get your child evaluated. Of course, again, when parents are calling us, it's often because something's not going right, or, they're not loving the school that they're in. And through the course of those conversations, a lot of times we hear concerns about how the child is interacting with peers or an area of struggle in a certain subject. And so at Love Your School, we really, really encourage families to dig into those issues. We provide counsel and resources about how to walk through getting your child evaluated at your local district school. And that's federal law. Any family can have their child evaluated at your local school district. It's Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, and it's called Child Find. So even if you're a homeschooler, even if your child is in private school, you have that right to get your child evaluated, and you can learn really important pieces of information about your child and about how they learn. So if your child's doing great in school, is very neurotypical, and they're seeing a lot of success, you probably don't need what I'm talking about. But for those parents who are out there who are concerned or are questioning or unsure, definitely don't delay getting your child evaluated. That was one of the most important things that we could have done to help our kids who are now thriving, was getting those evaluations and finding out how their brain worked and what they needed to learn better.
Well, Jenny Clark with Love Your School, so great talking with you today. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.